from adaptation to mitigation, and now through loss and damage fund, addressing the unavoidable impacts of climate change, we must leave no stone unturned. Because in this quest for sustainability, it's actually our quest for life on our planet. And if we don't do this, if our generation doesn't do this, then the next generation won't have that opportunity. And they will ask us, what did you do? What did you do? Because they will know that we know what the future holds. The generation before can say, I didn't understand. I didn't know. I wouldn't have done this. I would have done anything. Well, we do know. So the question we're all having to ask each other and ourselves first is, so what am I going to do? Not what is the ambassador going to do, not is what my government going to do, not is what others are going to do, but what am I going to do? Because what I know is it starts with each of us. And there's a lot more I wanted to tell you about climate, and I hope we'll have the question and answer, but I know Tahir wants me to say a little about why do I care about this so much? And why do I feel that each of us have so much to give? And he also knows I absolutely hate talking about me. So the reason he said what he did at the beginning is to give me no way out.
Yes.
So I don't know, have any of you read anything about me at all?
Honestly, no.
Okay, so I was born in one of the most beautiful islands in the Caribbean, the Commonwealth of Dominica. There are only about 70,000 people in my island, and therefore it is said, if you have one Dominican in the room, you have a large percentage of my population. So I was born in Dominica. I was the 10th of 12 children, but I was the last child to be born in Dominica. And my brothers and sisters have not forgiven me because my parents had 9 children and had decided that they could probably afford, with the greatest degree of difficulty, to send each of those children to the United Kingdom to university. And if any of you are looking at being educated abroad, you know how expensive that is. But my father, who was born in 1912, and my mother, who was born in 1919, were both feminists. And so they did not want to do for their 5, 6 sons what they could not do for each of their daughters. And so when it got to me, they realized there was no way they could afford to educate 10 children by sending them to the United Kingdom, so that they would have to emigrate. And my other 9 siblings have not forgiven me because they say it's all my fault. But we went to the United Kingdom in the 1950s, and my mother and father were very much part of the Windrush generation. And it wasn't an easy time to be a black Caribbean family in the late 1950s, 1960s, and particularly not when there were 10 of you. And there were another 2 children who were born in the United Kingdom. So my parents, I was always asked if I was an only child. And I said, yes, I'm one of my parents' 12 only children, because they'd say they only had one of each of us. And by the age of 20, I had undertaken my degree as a lawyer, and at 21, I qualified as a barrister, which means basically I'm an advocate. I go to court and represent people. And then at the age of 35, I became the youngest woman ever to be appointed Her Majesty's Queen's Counsel, and I was the youngest person, save for Pitt the Younger, who became Prime Minister at 21 and became an honorary silk, and as a result, he got there before me. But I reckon he cheated, because he didn't actually do the exams. So I then became the first black woman to become a silk, the first to become assistant judge, the first to become a deputy High Court judge, the first to become a Master of Middle Temple, the first to become a Baroness in the House of Lords, the first to become a minister in the government. I then became the deputy to the, firstly to the Foreign Office, parliamentary understate, then to the Lord Chancellor's Department. I became number 2 to the Lord Chancellor. Then I spent 4 years as deputy to the Home Secretary, and then I became the first woman since 1315 ever to be appointed as Her Majesty's Attorney General for England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. My brothers say that I'm too stupid to do anything slowly. I always seem to get there first, and anyone with any sense wouldn't get there at all. And now I am the first woman to be the Commonwealth Secretary-General, and I'm the 6th Secretary-General, and this is 75 years of the new Commonwealth. So what has driven me? I have always been driven by an intense feeling for justice, for things that are fair. And the first time I had a serious conversation about what was fair, I was about 6. And I was looking at the television at what was happening in Soweto and in South Africa. And I remember having a conversation with my father, telling my father that I thought what I was seeing was utterly unfair and wrong. And why were people beating and killing children who looked just like me? And I was thrilled that my father said he agreed with me, because I was 6, you know, my father agreeing with me, I thought it was really cool. And until he said, I said it was wrong, until he said, so what are you going to do about it? And I thought, me, I'm 6, you know. You may not have noticed I was the short person with pigtails and still wore long socks. And he said, and your point is, it starts with you. And for the rest of my life, I've heard my father in my head saying, so, what are you going to do about it? It starts with you. And that is something that I have never been able to forget, and it's driven me. But also what has driven me, and I have never hesitated about it, is I have a profound belief in God. I believe that God is the driver and that through his grace all things are possible. And when I can't do things, he can. So if you ask, can I move a mountain? I will say absolutely not. But if you ask a different question, can he move that mountain? The answer is absolutely he can. So my life has been a series of him moving my mountains. And there used to be a joke when I was at the bar as a lawyer, because I was very fortunate and I very rarely lost a case. And when I came back, some of my colleagues would laugh and they would tease me, have you won a case again? And I'd say, well, and they would say, no, stop. Patricia doesn't win her cases, God does. So I said, I'm glad you understand. So that's what's driven me, and it's taken me places I never thought I'd go. It's really a combination of hard work, being determined to follow what my parents told me, which was that every single one of us is given a gift from God, and it's our job to find it, to hone it, and then to use it for the benefit of other people. And those two things, with the constant, so what are you going to do about it, has got me into a lot of trouble. But I have tried to answer those things and answer, so this is what I'm going to do about it. And I would say to each of you, don't be frightened of being the first. Don't be frightened of starting something, even if no one else seems to see what you see. Step out, do what you believe is right, and when you look around the corner, to your utter surprise, you will find that there are so many other people who are willing to walk with you. So ask yourself constantly, what am I going to do about it? And you'll be surprised at what you can do and what you will achieve. But don't be surprised if you end up like me, being extremely surprised at what you've ended up achieving. And I hope that you will have a fantastic, fantastic life. So thank you.
Thank you. Do you understand now what I meant when I started the talk? That you're in the presence of a world leader, a heart that embraces all of life. And what Madam General Secretary has achieved in Commonwealth of Nations. You know, there's a lot of misunderstanding what is Commonwealth of Nations. And only through listening to her, I understood. Actually, it has the same value. It's about sharing values. It's about inclusiveness. It's about participation. It's about dialogue and learning from each other. And it's the values that Azerbaijan has. We have these values, Madam Secretary. We are honored that you're here. And I want to say personally, I'm very touched by your life story, by what you're doing, by what you want to do. And you have touched our hearts here in Azerbaijan. You've met very high-level government delegates as well, and each and every one of them had the great pleasure. And I want you to know we appreciate all the support of Commonwealth of Nations that you're doing in COP29 to us, and that you have my personal full commitment, TGID, and also Azerbaijan, also in journey and also with Commonwealth. Please ask your questions wholeheartedly. You have a golden chance for this extraordinary leader. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Tahir Bey, for this unique opportunity to students. I'm very happy that you brought such an interesting speaker to us. I want to mention very briefly that we have here Leyla. Leyla is ADA's alumni. She graduated, and now she's selected as COP29 Youth Champion. So she's